It was the largest public forum in OPTN-UNOS history. 240 people gathered in person and another 280 online for a day-long public forum on redesigning liver distribution. Attendees represented transplant centers, organ procurement organizations, and the public from across the country.
The reason this is such an important problem is because we have large geographic disparities in this country.
The Liver and Intestinal Organ Transplantation Committee sponsored the forum with one goal: gathering input to reduce geographic disparity in liver transplant. Dr. David Mulligan explained the Liver Committee's approach and recent concept document that suggests redistricting could save 550 lives over 5 years.
We decide the number of districts should be at least 4, but no more than 8 districts, and that the minimum number of transplant centers per district should be 6. The maximum median meld or median travel time between DSAs should be the same or less than 3 hours, and the number of waitlist deaths with whatever solution that we have should not be higher than what we have in our current system. So we shouldn't be driving a system that makes things worse.
Dr. Mulligan led a panel of experts, including Dr. Rio Hiroshi, Dr. Jack Lake, Dr. Sommer Gentry, and Dr. Dori Segev, which detailed metrics and a variety of mathematical solutions for reducing geographic disparity, including new districts and concentric circle designs.
And the concentric circle maps displayed a worse trade-off between the transport impacts and the reduction in geographic disparity.
The panel, during an hour-long morning discussion, fielded nearly 24 questions on distribution concepts, metrics, costs, and results.
Is median melded transplant the right metric to look at when we're talking about an allocation scheme? And I might argue that perhaps not.
And these are the issues we have to address. Stop talking about sort of some adjusted new score system that has been invented for it's convenient for the OPO community.
The whole point of trying to have a better distribution of resource is that we're trying to develop melds in the mid-20s for access for transplant for patients fairly equivalently across the country.
After a brief 20-minute lunch break, the afternoon session began with presenters Dr. David Axelrod, Dr. Marlon Levy, Sean Van Slyke, Jeff Orlowski, Dr. Catherine Frenette, and Dr. John Friedman, discussing financial and logistical considerations, followed by a spirited panel discussion.
Those livers have saved a lot of lives, and we all are here to save a lot of lives of people, but at the same time they cost more. And I think all of us should be asking, where is the balance, and how do we reach that?
One thing that I think deserves more attention is the variance and underperforming OPOs, and I think this is an opportunity to really address and try to fix this issue.
And I worry about, quite frankly, what's going to happen to smaller programs because they're not going to be able to afford those increasing costs.
You know, it's really up to this community, including all the stakeholders, not just the physicians, not the surgeons, but the patients, the OPOs, the donor families, and so forth, to work together to come up with what's thought to be the most appropriate solution. And then,
the third and final group of presenters spoke on clinical and collaborative considerations and included Dr. Kenneth Chavin, Rick Hawes, Dr. Rio Hiroshi, Dr. Jorge Reyes, and Kevin O'Connor. The panel discussion remained lively.
OPO performance needs to be evaluated. The metrics that we currently have stink.
So can we transplant the sicker patients while maintaining excellent outcomes, remaining good stewards, and avoid future transplants? The simple answer, I think, is yes.
Also need to think about what is an acceptable level of disparity that we are comfortable with as a community.
But we're here to discuss one issue, and that one issue is equitable access to organs. Whether it's 60 organs that we're talking about or 6,000 organs, we need to have equitable access to them. Today we had more questions than answers, and we should look to answer those questions. But as we look to answer them, we should always look to make sure what's right for the patient, not so much for institutions or individual physicians or organizations.
During the forum's final 90 minutes, Dr. David Goldberg, Dr. Michael Charlton, Dr. Devin Eckhoff, and Tom Moan presented additional data and ideas, followed by an open forum discussion.
The public trusts us to make these decisions. We know more about this than anybody else.
And I envision at least 2 or maybe 3 ad hoc committees to look at different aspects of what we've discussed today going forward, so that we can plan a meeting in the spring and look at some of the results of what we can come up, what we can develop as ad hoc committees, what we can do as a liver intestinal committee, and come back and address these issues.
The Liver Committee is now reviewing all of the input and will continue to engage the community and the OPTN-UNOS Board of Directors throughout the process of redesigning liver distribution. The Liver and Intestinal Organ Transplantation Committee is encouraging you to stay involved.